is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM. Fresh news, smart talk, all day. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the position of the management and staff of Guardian Network.
Good morning and welcome to Guardian Radio AM. And today is Friday, June 10th, and it's a little after 11 a.m. in the morning. And once again, this is C.A. Nuri, and I shall be your host for today's show. Today, I should, and I will, and I more than likely will, have the privilege to be in the company of a wordsmith, a creator of words, one who makes words come to life, one who conjures up images, one whose words evokes music, breathes life, and soothes wild beasts. I intend to have poet laureate, I give him that title, such a prestigious title, Obadiah Michael Smith. Right now he's running late, and he is not here at this present time to move forward with my interview, but I hope that he shows up shortly, and so I could continue the conversation on which I intended to have. But in the meanstead, let's talk culture. Let's talk about ideas of what we should be having come the Bahamas independence celebration, the 50th anniversary. Not this one in July, because July is so close. But next year, our celebration of 50 years of being independent, right? And I know we have a lot of sports and activities and church service and ceremonies, but I'm assuming that culture must play a prevalent role in the celebration. And I'm hoping to have a series of interviews with people who promotes culture, who makes culture happen in the Bahamas. Like, for instance, 2 weeks ago, I was talking about how to create museums, Bahamian museums, that we in the Bahamas will be known for having 365 museums or 100 museums throughout the Bahamas, right? And I have a guest in mind, and I'm trying to get the powers that be to facilitate her on how a common Bahamian, a regular Joe, can apply to have a museum, apply to get funding for this museum, and how to manage that museum. And hoping to promote that idea that perhaps the powers that be and who control such will help facilitate Bahamians who are interested in performing such things to make it come in place. Right? But I also have a number of ideas on what I think museums should exist. Right? Like, of course, there already exists a Junkanoo Museum, and Arlene Nash Ferguson? I forget Arlene Nash's name. That's not good. Her husband wouldn't like that. Arlene Nash Ferguson's Junkanoo Museum. But I think that there should be more. Saxons should have their own museum someplace, right? The Valley Boys should have their own museum someplace. And of course, Arlene Nash, in her perfection in which she does, should have her museum prominently that people, Bahamians and visitors alike, can do that. But I wanted to promote the idea of having a pop culture museum. And I'm not sure if people are familiar on what pop culture means. And when I say pop culture, things that happen in and around the Bahamas that makes us globally significant. Things that happen in and around the Bahamas that makes us globally significant. And I believe that we in the Bahamas, because of where we are situated, because of providence and because of the blessings of the Lord, are rich in culture and things that we can have people gravitate, sojourning to the Bahamas to celebrate with us. Like, for example, for a pop culture museum, we, at one point in time in the Bahamas, we had the richest man in the world living in the Bahamas, Sir Harry Oakes, right? Who was a Canadian businessman who immigrated to the Bahamas and ended up being a member of parliament and became a significant figure in terms of real estate and buying property. And because we were going through a recession, bought out so many things. I see no reason why we can't either have a Harry Oakes museum or included within a pop culture museum, a segment just on Harry Oakes. I think Canadians would be interested, and especially regarding the mystery that somebody killed him, murdered him, and that they have the segment where they suggested that it was some kind of obeah ritual that after they brutally murdered him, they put tar and feather on him and stripped him naked. That story needs to be told. We still have no idea who murdered Sir Harry Oakes, right? And we have theories. We have Bahamians who were present. Surely a pop culture section could be there. But I see I have a call already, and I appreciate the call. I have some contribution towards the conversation. So, caller, thank you for calling. This is C.A. Nuri, and I'm waiting on Obadiah Michael Smith, the poet, which will have a series with him. Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead. I can hear you loud and clear, Sparky.
Okay, thank you. Good morning. You know what I would like to see, too, when it comes to our independence, especially when God spare our lives that we're here on the 50th. You know, we mark these years like the 10th and the 20th and the 50th and the 100th and stuff like that. But I personally would like to see Bahamians be at our next, at our 50th anniversary.
What do you mean by Bahamian Day?
Bahamians. When I look around the country and we call Bahamians those that have, what we call those that have citizenship, these are Bahamians. We have Chinese that are here, the Bahamians, Indians, French, whites, blacks, Haitian, Jamaicans, who are now referred to as Bahamians. They have their citizenship document in their hands. But when we see our celebrations in the Bahamas, we don't see those other ethnic groups taking part in our independence, in our celebration. Like Jaucadu, for example. We see what we call the Black Over the Hill Bahamians down Bay Street. We might see foreign visitors off the ships or the hotel come to entertain our celebration. When we go down to Clifford Park, we see the average black Bahamians in the crowds and so forth. In the podium area behind the Prime Minister, Governor General, and the police commissioner, the dignitaries are made up of foreign invited guests. Mm-hmm. But we don't see the Bahamian whites, those that own all the businesses in the Bahamas. When we go into their stores, we don't see them in the stores. We see the Bahamians, and I would also refer to this as the over-the-hill black people round the cash registers, round the aisles, packing the groceries, doing this and that and the next. But we know that these other ethnic groups are here. They're making up all the money. But for some reason, Mr. C.A. Nuri, they part, hello?
I'm here, man. I'm listening to you.
I heard somebody was calling it to me. They don't seem to take part in the celebrations when we have it ourselves. You know where I'm coming from?
I do understand.
I don't see them. I don't see them down to Jaucadu. I don't see them on the Labor Day March. I don't see them to Independence or Clifford Park. I hardly see them even to the regattas, unless they are foreign visitors coming out with taxi drivers. I hope to see Bahamians, all of us, celebrate. You know, you go around the churches of the Bahamas. I wonder nowadays, they had churches where we knew that the white people went to. Evangelistic Temple, what they call it, First Edition Gospel Hall. They had another white church up on Camp Road, almost from Shirley Street. But now these churches seem to be closed down, or you don't see white people going to churches no more. Where do they worship God? They don't come out to church. I know they don't come over there, but where do they worship God? Do they have special churches that we don't know about? You get where I'm coming from, sir?
I appreciate what you're saying. And thank you very much, Sparky. It's some attention, but I know for a fact that white Bahamians celebrate Bahamas and their culture tremendously. They love Bahamian music. They love rake and scrape. They love the arts, and they sponsor the arts. Now, how they celebrate that may be different from their black brothers, but they definitely celebrate. Now, you were saying that perhaps there needs to be a coming together, a mecca or meeting for Chinese Bahamians, Filipino Bahamians, but have we made space for them to come and celebrate? Just recently, I saw the Chinese embassy donated and have make available some dragon boats to say they know that Bahamians are into rowing, and we competed in Carifta rowing recently, right? And there was an uproar saying why would they donate dragon boats? They trying to change our culture. So truly, Bahamians and mostly black Bahamians are very close-minded when it comes to what they identify as being Bahamian, right? So even though we participate in these internationally, and even though that this particular donation might open up doors that we can go and compete internationally in this, right? Compete against a population that is, right? We tend to say, man, but why are they trying to colonize us? You know? So I hear you in terms of the concern and wanting to see. And I know the Filipinos tend to have all kind of activities. They have a Filipino Day where they have sports and volleyball. So they definitely want to participate. But I'm not sure if we, in the majority, are welcoming, right? We tend to say, man, this belongs to us and you need to stay separate. But I do believe that you were right. We need to have a coming together of different cultures to celebrate what is Bahamian. And when you say Bahamian, Bahamian must include those who have Bahamian citizenship, which means that they must have Haitian Bahamians and their culture also included in the broadness of Bahamian. And even in terms of the celebration, there should be a segment that they can celebrate. But that's some forward and progressive thinking. I'm not sure if we're ready for that. Do I have another caller there, Kermit? Yeah? Go ahead, caller. Thank you for everyone for calling in.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, and thanks for calling in as I wait for Obadiah Smith.
You know, the issue that we truly need to bring up is what did independence do for us that majority rule didn't do for us? Especially
But we got both. We got both, right? We got majority rule and independence.
Right. But
so something to celebrate.
Independence, all we needed was majority rule. We didn't need independence. Look at the takes and cases have that we don't have. In fact, we let the colonial masters get away from their obligations to us. You see, because if we were still under the British, we could go there with their passport and get the benefits that their citizens get, the same way how everybody else come here and get the benefits that we get, that our government give us. You understand what I'm saying? The poor people in this country is the ones who got the bad end of the independence stick, not the ones who rule us and what you call it, the intelligence or the civil Bahamians. You see, they let the colonial masters get away. They got away scot-free. Thank you.
Yeah, it seems as if you do have a hang-up against a particular set of people with a particular set of hue, and that you want to be free of them and not necessarily want to be involved in them. And that may be problematic inside this new Bahamas, where we, as out of many people, we are one people, right? To borrow that phrase from the Jamaicans, right? Surely there is a space and should be the white Bahamians should be embraced and celebrated. You know, they have a rich history, and part of their history is ours to claim, right? And we are interacting. And I would dare to say that Bahamians have different, let's see the right wording. They have black Bahamians have white family members, and white Bahamians have black family members. And I guess that's the most simplistic way I can say that. But I see I do have another caller when we're talking about culture as we wait, and ideas of what can be done for the 50th anniversary of independence coming up next year. Go ahead, caller.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks very much for calling in.
I just tuned tuned in a few minutes ago, and I tuned into the point where you were talking about the Chinese boat that they were going to do with the rowing and all that stuff.
Yes, did you see that we came third in the Carifta for boat rowing? That was impressive, wasn't it?
Wow, it is.
Yes,
I
and
didn't
so
know- I didn't know
we
that.
now rowing. Rowing is a big thing in the Bahamas.
But see, listen, we're Bahamians. We're strong. You understand? We will conquer anything we go there to do. We are, when it comes to sports, we are in every league there is in the world. I'm assuming, most all. And
Yeah,
we
I believe so.
dominate most all that we step into. So I know we can handle it. My thing with that, with the Chinese, however, is because it's so, my fear with it, I should say, is because there's so much of them and so little of us. I feel a way sometime with them because I feel like they will sneakingly, don't forget to ask your word person to put that in their book. They will sneakingly take us over, and that's my fear. You know, and I think that's probably most Bahamian fear. We are afraid to be taken over again. So that's why they question why do this, why do that. Why
But let me engage you, caller. I understand your fear. So you believe that the Chinese in general have some sinister plot to fly millions and millions of miles over and land and populate the Bahamas right next to the United States, the greatest superpower, and they won't do anything? That's what you're afraid of. That's what you're afraid of, right?
I'm not worried about the U.S. part in it because the U.S. have their own fears with everybody else in the world, including themselves. I could care less about them.
Mm-hmm.
My fear is that because China is so overpopulated, you know, they are spreading their wings through the Caribbean. Look at Jamaica. They practically own Jamaica at this point.
Would you think that there are more Chinese in Jamaica? That's what you're saying?
Yes, because I've heard, and then they have some things that they walk in there and they can lend you money and then when you can't.
So
pay,
you're afraid of the loans that they lend in Jamaicans money?
Yes, and then when you can't pay, they take in away from you whatever it was that the loan covered, you know, which you use as collateral. And I feel like down the line we're going to get in that position.
You're afraid that Bahamas?
We just get out of partially from under Britain's hand.
You said we bad pay.
Now-
Yes, Bahamas. You saying Bahamas are bad pay? They don't pay their loans.
No. Now, one thing we do is pay our bills.
Oh, so we have nothing to be afraid of. That's why I said we have nothing to be afraid of. We just pay our bills.
But
We straight.
we don't know when the time will come when we can't pay. Because we have so much government that does so much weird things, and I do apologize if anybody feels gets
No.
so much weird things with our funds.
So
I feel like one of them will put us in a position where there's going to be a debt we are struggling to pay, and the person's may say, listen, I expect this tomorrow.
So you saying that the Bahamas shouldn't borrow no more money internationally because we may forfeit?
No, not just
Now
yet.
you're confusing me,
Say
man.
that, not just yet. But I think we may need to start looking into paying up some debt first, get something free up
Yeah.
before because then we allocate so much money, so much things. We cut social service almost in half, and then we apply so much to traveling and like Zoom going out of order now. There's no more Zoom. We can't Zoom some of these meetings and stuff and put these money someplace else and
Okay.
stuff like that.
Yeah. Michael, I appreciate you doing. And mind you, even though I was tongue in cheek in you, the fear is real. A number of Bahamians are still in that mindset of that Cold War, where the United States movie theater, Hollywood, the enemy, and the Chinese were the enemy, and that's still in us because we watch a lot of television. So we're terrified. We're terrified that there's going to be a Cold War and we taken over, that somebody wants to take us over. Now, mind you, our army is kind of small. So if they really want to take us over, nothing we can do. And I know the United States, for one, Britain, for two, would definitely come to our aid because we are significantly positioned where they say, man, we got to protect this border no matter what. But I mean, if you're afraid, nothing wrong with being afraid. But face your fears, man. Shame the devil and shame that demon spirit of being afraid, right? But let's talk more about ideas, about museums. I'm not sure if but Bahamians appreciate the fact that we had major movies filmed here, especially for pop culture. Like, why can't there be a flipper? I'm not sure if anyone knows what a flipper is. The flipper is the dolphin, right? Why can't there be a flipper pop museum where tourists who appreciate that film can come to the Bahamas and say, hey, that's Flipper. I watched that. Why can't that be a Gilligan's Island museum where people who are familiar with that show say, hey, Gilligan's Island didn't film in the Bahamas? Oh, yes, it surely did, right? Why can't there be a Jaws museum? And the people say, no, man, that filmed someplace else. They say, no, we have an entire beach named Jaws Beach. So many things that in terms of promoting and selling as part of what the Bahamas is, right, that we're not capitalizing on. I see, Kermit, I have another caller who wants to contribute. Go ahead, caller.
Good morning, Mr. Nuri. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm glad you called me to help me along.
Yes, I have a difficult question. I'd like you, if you can answer it. I mean, I know the answer for it. What do you consider to be an organic Bahamian?
There's no such thing because that's organic goes with farming. I know we want to talk about farming and food and animals and husbandry and stuff like that. So the two don't mix. You need to have words that relate to each other to go with each other, or don't use it at all.
Yeah, we got this group in posting around this thing, but who was organic Bahamian from who was not. But my theory to being organic Bahamian, the closest thing to organic will be those who were born since July the 10th, 1973.
Those would be
everybody that was
Bahamians
born,
with citizenship.
Right, exactly. I said everybody that was born before July 10th, 1973 was deemed to be British subjects. Mm-hmm. Am I correct or
you're correct.
am I wrong?
I agree with you wholly.
Okay. You know, but I hate to see the fact that Bahamians, because other persons from the diaspora lives here in the Bahamas legally, they have a problem with that. Now, I can be emphatically clear. I have everything against illegal migration. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to legal migration, I don't see a problem in different countries all around the world.
Yes.
So we have to stop pushing this narrative that one grouping of people are far less better than the other grouping of people, because we have a lot of people from different origins live here in the Bahamas legally, you know, so we can't class everybody in the same grouping. Thank you, man.
And I appreciate you calling, though, and you made some significant points. People must appreciate that the Greeks came into the Bahamas in the 1860s. The Chinese came to the Bahamas in the 1840s. Haitians were always in the Bahamas as early as the late 1700 to 1806. We have Jamaican migration, the Guyanese migration coming. Of course, we have the Americans and the Canadians and the British. You know, we even had the German migration, and all of them encompassing makes up the Bahamas, and we must celebrate that. A number of our traditions, a number of our food that we claim is Bahamian is shared with several groups, right? That few people might know that in Jamaica they have macaroni and cheese, baked macaroni and cheese. You know, in Jamaica, they have Johnny cake. I mean, it's not as good as ours, though, the Johnny cake. But, I mean, they have Johnny cake, and there's a history and a narrative that how the entire English Caribbean and also the southern states have this term Johnny cake, right? Even souse. Souse is an English word, right? And they have souse in England, souse in Jamaica, and we have our souse. And, of course, we make it differently, right? But the words that we use is shared amongst the Caribbean, shared amongst the world. And this is something that we must celebrate and something we must tell its narrative. And this is, all of this needs to be told come independence, the 50th anniversary of Independence Day, how we became Bahamian. And I'm not sure if we are telling that story properly, right? I see no reason why the Dr. Bird, I think that's what they call the Hummingbird Society of Jamaica, who have Jamaican Bahamians living here, cannot participate in the 50th anniversary of the Bahamas independence. I don't see no reason why the Filipinos Bahamians cannot participate in the 50th anniversary as we celebrate a wholesome Bahamas, a new age Bahamas, a progressive Bahamas. And we must learn to include them. How do we include them in the celebrations, right? I see we have another caller there. Go ahead, caller. Thank you for calling in and joining me and helping me out. I'm sorry if I took so long, but call me back. The number today is 323-6232, 325-4316, 325-4259. I see I have a text right here. Let's see if I can read that. The downtown area should be converted to the culture night spot. Of course, I like culture. Junkanoo, Bahamian music, and musicians. Hotel to where land and survey building is on East Bay Street should be converted to a walk-through. It needs to happen. And I have no problem with that, I think the owners of these buildings may have an issue with that because they want to have Bay Street to be a high-end, gated-like community, right? They want to have condominiums and cafes, and not necessarily what is Bahamian, but a cafe what is attractive globally. But I do hear you. I just saying good luck with trying to convince them to do that. I have another text would say organic or real Bahamians was born before July 10th, 1973. But if you're born before July 10th, 1973, you British subjects. You weren't Bahamian at all. You were paper Bahamian. So I hear you, Texas. Say paper Bahamians of or other origins, most people do not consider organic indigenous Bahamians. And see, this is where our social scientists, where university, I used to call it hang up already, where the University of Bahamas needs to come in play to give us some definition. Because I'm reading this texter, and he mix up. The texters mix up. They understand what true Bahamian is and what Bahamian citizenship means, right? And I see them putting some spins on their interpretation, and which is not necessarily true. I might just put that person through so they can join in the combination and give me some ideas of what we should do for our 50th anniversary. What is Bahamian? What should we include in Bahamian? But go ahead, Texter. Go ahead, caller.
Yeah, good morning, Mayor. My call just keep dropping, I guess.
Sorry about that.
Well, okay, let's assume that here we are kind of mixed up, and you want to unmix this mixed up. Suppose we simply have people who are here from other cultures.
Get drop again. I'm not sure what's happening, and I wanted to hear what you're saying, but I see you continue to get dropped. Call me from a different type of line, and hopefully we can get your contribution in. And say, Caesar, that is a real risk. The Russians did it with Cuba. Did what with Cuba? It doesn't mean China is the boogeyman. It means we should have our intelligence officers keeping us abreast. Unfortunately, our intelligence officers are glorified event planners stuck on. That don't make no sense, Dexter. I appreciate your concern, but no, that don't make sense. Let's see. I have a next text which said, we understand that many were colonies of larger countries in history. But now we have what you call a sovereign country called the Bahamas. And yes, and that sovereign country have different types of people within it. And I find interesting what we can brag about is our father of our nation is of Jamaican descent. Basically a first generation Bahamian. And he was so integral in defining what is Bahamian, right? And we must also appreciate that the Trinidadian police officers, the Guyanese police officers, the Jamaican police officers had added to and contributed to our Bahamas to make us what we are right now. And we must appreciate that and remember that fact. We must also remember that until tourism started in the late 1970s, that the Bahamas was basically poor, and that we had to get assistance from other countries like Haiti and Jamaica and as far as Guyana and Trinidad when the boats came in. And I'm not saying that we must be indebted. We just need to remember that this also is a part of our history. But I still want to talk about museums and what type of museums we should. I saw a picture recently of the police headquarters, right? Not the new Paul Farquharson building, but the original building that is on East Hill Street of the police headquarters. And it don't look pretty good. It needs some paint. It needs to be refurbished or something. But I'm saying that, how is it that the Bahamas, I'm not sure if Bahamians know that, has the oldest police force in the Caribbean, in the region, the oldest, right? And we don't have a police museum? Man, we ain't ashamed. That ain't concerning. We have no old pictures, no narrative that police from around the world can come and say, I hear y'all is the oldest Caribbean police force, right? I want to see the pictures of all your commissioners. I want to read the narrative. I want to see all the women police officers. I need to embrace myself in your history. Surely we could have a police museum, right? I see another caller. Go ahead, Kermit. Patch that caller through. Hang up again. I see another caller after that again, Kermit. You patch that person through. See if they're able to connect. Go ahead. Thanks for
Good morning. I heard you with your comment, right? Now, what you got to remember, the Bahamas was controlled by British. And I'll say this. The things what's happening here now under British couldn't happen. The Bahamas ain't had no debt. We didn't owe nobody things. The law and order was in place. Yes, we had people came from Barbados, Trinidad, and a few Jamaicans. But they come, law and order. Ain't nobody just jump and say, I come in here, because if you come here and you're invited, they charge you before the court. That used to happen in them days. And speaking about the people from Haiti, they can come here. Don't forget now, Haiti was Haiti was a French colony. Okay? And that's how we was run. We was managed well and good. But now, when we became independent, that's when the trouble started.
Okay, no, I mean, I was listening to you. I was trying to discern what you said.
Yeah, we was always okay, but we had good law and order. We had good law and order. The treasury had money in it.
So,
it was run by
Paul,
British.
I can engage you briefly if I can. You're saying that Bahamians can't do anything good, and that we need to be ruled by colonists. That's what you're saying, right? I'm just making sure.
But we was ruled. Don't forget now, we still have people in Parliament, House Assembly.
So you disagree that we cannot rule ourselves, that we can't be independent.
Well, in some cases, I don't think we did a good job of that. And the gentleman who called him Sparky, he's right what he said. People got our passports, the eyes of Bahamian. But there's some of them people have their own day, and that's the only time you see them. And they go to day, whatever, Jamaican day or Haitian day, whatever. And they do their thing. They ain't coming to say, eyes of Bahamian. And this thing what we get about converting a person to a Bahamian, that don't make no sense. You is what you is. The Chinese them been with us long time. They had business here, long time. They had food stores and you name it. You had the Greek. Again, everybody come the right way. People ain't jump on the boat and say, I come in here and do whatever they want to do. That wasn't happening. Shantytown, when the Shantytown nonsense started, after we became independent, you don't have no Shantytown here under British rule.
I can comment on that.
I can say more things, but the things what this government and some of these MPs didn't get away with, man, they'd have been before the court. Okay? British still run some places now, you forget to Island, still under British rule. You don't hear no trouble over to those places and saying this, because if they do foolishness, British them will deal with them. Okay? I could say more things, but I'll let you go.
Yeah, I appreciate that, caller. Thanks very much for calling. Right. And I just want to remind people, Bahamians, that until the 1980s, right, we still had outside toilet, right? And not just one or two. It was peppered throughout the Bahamas, right? Until the 1960s, we had thatch roofs still, right? But my point is, I want to celebrate, and I want to include a number of different type of Bahamians in our celebration. I want to come up with ideas, and it's just not necessarily a immigration conversation, and I think that we're gravitating towards it. But I want us to come up with ideas on what can we do to celebrate our 50th anniversary. And I see that at times we may get combative with the illegal immigration problems, which is real, but I want us to celebrate. This is a joyous thing. And the 50th anniversary is right around the corner, and we need some ideas, and we need to work on some plans on how we can celebrate. But I'll be right back. So this is Guardian Radio in the AM, and I'm C.A. Nuri, and join me on the other side.
Girl, Neil, you see how Cora eye look funny, all black up yesterday?
But she say she bumped into a wall when she's running after the churn them.
Yeah, but last Saturday, you see her arm was all black and blue, right?
So what you saying? You think something wrong between her and Jack?
I ain't sure, but you know Jack is a jealous man. I hear him and Cora last Friday. I hear him say he hear Cora have eyes for Junior.
Now you know that ain't true. Cora is a good woman, does mind her business, take care of them churn, and go to church every Sunday. So what you think we should do?
I think we should report Jack, you know. Cora don't say nothing, but silence hides violence, and we don't want to line up in the cemetery.
Not me. I ain't getting in nobody business, then Jack come after me, and I land up next to Cora.
No, man, we could call a text Crime Stopper. And remember, we can even get some grocery money for our tip.
Remind me again, how does this work?
We can call them in Miami at 328-TIPS or 328-8477. Or when we in the island, call toll-free at 300-TIPS or 300-8477. And if you don't have no minutes, use the Crack Crime Bahamas app and we could text them. And the messages get all mixed up before it leave your phone so nobody can know what you saying.
So what we waiting on then? Let's go earn some grocery money.
A local paper in Grand Bahama is back every Tuesday as a section of the Nassau Guardian. Available at local stores, gas stations, pharmacies, Western Bakery, and Bellevue Gifts. Daily and, of course, on Tuesdays too. Want to reach your Grand Bahama audience? Then call Barefoot Marketing at 827-4578 or message them for ad rates via their Facebook page. Advertising opportunities now include classified ads too. Keep up with all the latest Grand Bahama news in the Guardian newspaper every Tuesday.
This is Guardian Radio 96.9 FM, Nassau, Bahamas.
And welcome back. This is Guardian Radio in the AM. This is C.A. Nuri, and I'm having an interesting conversation. My guest didn't show up, but that's okay. I love culture, so we can talk about culture. I want to talk about what can we do, what ideas you have on how to celebrate the Bahamas' 50th anniversary independence, right? And I have some museum ideas on what we should do and how we should be promoting culture, right? But I want to engage you on what we should be doing, right? We need to have definitely a national music competition, right? A series. If some people might say, oh, it got to be calypso or gumbe or jonku music, I'm willing to even entertain rap and reggae or anything like that, once it has a Bahamian flair to it, right? But there needs to be a national competition where we get Bahamians electrified and energized in celebrating what it is to be Bahamian. Might have another caller there? Go ahead, caller. Join me in this conversation.
Good morning, Mr. Nuri.
Good morning. Thanks for calling, man.
How you doing? You always have a provocative conversation, and productive, like your sense of humor, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is, I just wanted to comment on one or two things that I heard that I thought was misleading, right? And I hate to be book-ish, right? Because it seems to me as if there are some people who are offended by my book-ishness, right? The thing is, I was offended when I heard somebody mention, can we govern ourselves as Negroes, right?
Can you
and
imagine?
I remember reading Charles Darwin's book, The Origin of Species, Preservation of Favored Races by Means of Natural Selection. The latter, they excluded in the modern-day book. And in the book, I can remember, this is not verbatim, but he was saying that the Negroes cannot govern themselves without some external measures or guidance. And then he went on to say, in the future, all the civilized races of man will exterminate all of the non-civilized races, and the gap between man and his nearest allies will be as between the Negro and the ape and the baboon. And so you don't see how offensive that is. Our lack of knowledge is leading to a lot of garbage being spewed, right? Mm-hmm. So the fact that most people are not mindful that the loyalists, and during the Civil War in America, a lot of what you call the people who were the anti-colonialists, like colonials, they came here for freedom. They also ran to Haiti for freedom. So in those groups were white supremacists, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. So hence we have this demographics. And so the fact that they're bragging, but we didn't have any national debt, they didn't listen to Dr. Curry. And I agreed with him, because what happens is we realized that there was a lot of social neglect going on. We didn't have health care, like Juan said. We didn't have educational systems. We didn't have a lot of social infrastructure in place. So we must be reminded of this. So this picture of painting a utopia under colonial rule is foolishness, because the majority of people still were black. And so our minds are being kept back. all right? And apparently, intelligentsia or some people feel frightened that 52 is trying to enlighten, all right? It's not about 52. I really don't get it. I always say I'm a college dropout, and people say I'm boasting, but I really don't get it. But maybe they should recharge that and see what these race of people thought about us and why they are hiding our history. And our history is still a mystery up to this day. And we have a contempt for one another. This is all by design. It's all based on what people know and what they don't know, and making uninformed decisions and opinions about things, all right? And this is where we're headed at. Bless up.
Bless up 52. I appreciate that. I'm not even going to add no commentary onto that because you said a mouthful, and I agree with you wholeheartedly, right? Another museum idea that I think that we need to capitalize, right? At one point in time, especially during rum running, right? During Prohibition, we had Al Capone coming to the Bahamas to get rum. Right? Surely we can have an Al Capone museum and let people know that the real McCoy, and some people might not be familiar with that, but it's a British type of rum, liquor, whiskey, that when people say this is the best ones, the genuine ones, right? That they said the real McCoy was sold via the Bahamas. And it reminds me of the rum festival that we used to have inside the Bahamas. That part of our history is not being told. That we are globally significant. That people will come to the Bahamas to learn about that. But I see I have another caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, good morning. 52 is trying to mix apples with oranges, right? Before independence, we had healthcare in the Bahamas. Nothing changed in healthcare in the Bahamas after independence. Come on, we had education, the same thing. The only thing, see, all we needed was majority rule. Same as Turks and Caicos. All we have now is unfettered, corruption. That's all we have now. We don't have any security now. Come on now. 52 needs to stop mixing oranges with apple because biology or chemistry is what he do. Come on, man. It doesn't mean that he's have some religion or not religion, because you have this knowledge. Come on, man. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for calling back. I see you going back and forth. I believe we do a good job governing ourselves. I believe that a number of places mark our manner as we trod on this world, and we should be celebrated, and we should celebrate our own selves. I see I have another caller. Go ahead, caller. Thanks for joining the show.
God, they did dark, voice.
Let there be light.
Say it again?
Let there be light. There's no more darkness.
That's what the Lord said, but the thing is, we ain't trying to let it be light, most of us. But let me say something. I understood what 52 was saying, right? But the problem we have, we still depending. And the thing is, the people that we depending on is those same people in which not the color of us. And the thing is, Dwight, let me ask you something. Who owns the radio station which you work?
I need to investigate that.
Okay.
Good question.
The thing is, and Dwight got to behave because that don't...
Why y'all always bullying Dwight? I just like the third call with people bullying Dwight. What Dwight do you? Dwight didn't do you nothing. Why y'all always bullying Dwight? But anyway, I'm not sure if people are aware who Meyer Lansky is, right? A notorious drug dealer of the 1980s, right? And I'm saying, how come we don't have a Meyer Lansky museum? Maybe just a picture of him someplace and say, he used to traffic drugs here. We have a whole island. What that island is? Oh, God. Stanley Key. Whatever that key. Whatever that key is where they used to have the ships. The one with Norman Solomon swam to and redo all the recording and report to the House Assembly that all kind of nefarious things happening there. That's a tour. Surely there are Americans who would want to see that. To say, yeah, they used to make the drugs right here. We are starring in a blockbuster movie called Blow, right? The Bahamas. And we are not capitalizing on these things. These is money on the ground. These like crab walking in Andres. This is money on the ground. But we're not taking advantage of it. And something is wrong. How come Bahamians are not able to take advantage? And this is why I want to bring that lady on to explain to us how to open up a museum, how to get some of these ideas up and running and where we can make money. But I have another phone call. Go ahead there, Kermit. Just patch them through. Thank you for calling, caller.
You misunderstood.
You get cut off again. Yeah. These things happen. I don't have access to the phone. I'm just letting you know that these things happen. The phone is just dropped. The phone call is just dropped. But I have another caller there?
Yeah.
Go ahead. How you doing, caller?
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon.
Yes, I would like to add something to 52. I'm somewhat in agreement with 52 comment. He made some comments, and also I'd like to chime in on some of the different groups of people you say came to the Bahamas: Germans, Greeks, and Chinese. You know, yes, they came here for a better life. The difference with the black people in the Bahamas, it wasn't our choice to come here. Okay, we didn't come here by choice. We came here through slavery as chattel. Okay, the different groups of people who came over here to better their lives, they are the ones who we go to their doorsteps. Our sons and daughters go there to, gain work in their places. Okay, so we're on a different level when it comes to celebrating what we call independence. For the matter of independence, we are not an independent country as well today, because we still holding on the gown tail of the Queen with everything else we need. Also, our prime minister and ministers in the House of Assembly swear allegiance to the crown. Okay. Another thing, if those who don't like the apples and oranges that 52 was talking about, I like fruit salad. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, caller. I mean, number of things you said I disagree with. We are an independent nation by definition, and we have partners that we would have no other choice but to be connected to, just like the United States have partners, and why they borrow so much money from the Chinese, and why they get oil and gas from Russia. We are interdependent, and we need to appreciate that. I have another caller there. Kermit, you put that through?
May I finish my point?
Go ahead. Finish your point.
What I am saying is, right, we would not stop killing up each other, and we are black, and it's happening all over the world. That's my point. I agree with the last caller. Okay, I stand the same thing. But we as black people would not killing up each other.
I understand. And thank you very much. I always enjoy when you do call. So I encourage you to call some more, I'm not sure if Bahamians appreciate that Martin Luther King came to the Bahamas and lived here for a period of time. Lived here in Bimini, came to Nassau, toured, and in fact was instrumental in setting up our movement to majority rule. Surely, African Americans, Americans in general, would like to know what Martin Luther King was doing in the Bahamas, why he was here, right? Even in terms of Caribbean tourism, Marcus Garvey came to Bahamas and gave speeches, at the turn of the century, right? And started the entire movement that black people in the Bahamas and in the region should strive for equality, right? Because he came here like the late 1800s, going on to the early 1900s, when we weren't really free. And he came here as an independent black man, suggesting that equality is possible, that there's a thing of being black and beautiful. But there's no monument. There's no national monument to celebrate persons who came here who were instrumental in the Bahamas. And I find that Bahamians tend to get defensive when I said, perhaps we should have a statue of Toussaint Louverture someplace in the Bahamas because of the global significance and how it impacted the Bahamas. Perhaps we should have a statue of a Martin Luther King someplace in the Bahamas. Perhaps we should have a statue of a Marcus Garvey. Perhaps we should have a statue of Hotway. And then again, Bahamians would say, but who is Hotway? Why would we need a statue of him? But Hotway was the first person to lead a revolution against the colonizers in the Western Hemisphere. He was an Awak chieftain, a cacique, who was born in the Bahamas and migrated to Haiti and led a revolution that he was trying to expel the Spaniards who came there. Surely we should have some kind of recognition of him being born to the Bahamas. You know, he made some famous speeches that all Bahamians should know. The phrases should be on our lips when we speak, but then few Bahamians actually know that he existed. Significant people who made a global impact, who are in the history books, who are a part of who we are, we don't know about. And that is a concern, especially moving towards our 50th anniversary. We need to know these men and women and how they impacted the Bahamas and in the world, right? And how is it that there isn't a museum for the likes of Sir Lyndon, right? No museum for the father of labor at all. And you see they're doing something with a partnership with the University of the Bahamas with the family of the Folks family, and I applaud them. But there should be something tangible that I can go and touch and feel, a suit, see a picture, to see a movie, see a clip of what Randall Folks did. Surely there should be a mecca that all Bahamians go to where they can celebrate and commemorate Sir Lyndon. These are the things we should be talking about, especially moving toward independence. These are the conversation we need and should be having. These are the things that are lacking in our school and in our general conversation, right? As we move forward, as we march forward, there's a need for such things. But thank you very much for joining me. This is C.A. Nuri. This is Guardian Radio in the AM, and I shall see you next week.